You are delusional. I am delusional. Humanity as a species is delusional. We are future-based creatures. We project, we aim, we target the future. If we cannot do so, we are anxious. The future hasn't happened yet. The future might not happen. Therefore, by definition, it's a delusion. Now, I'm using this word very provocatively, but I'm using it for a purpose because it opens up questions that I think are very important for the world that's to come or for the next 10 years, because we're going to have collective sense making, we're going to have group dynamics, we're going to have mob mentality, as if we haven't had it already in the past, but this is an education that is very important. If we can agree, if we can get that ground foundation that we are all delusional and be able to laugh at it, not take ourselves too seriously, and therefore be able to step outside and look at what humans are and how we project into the future, if we can get there, the question then becomes, what makes a good delusion? Now, if I'm trying to get one-on-one sort of advice from a stock advisor, the system operates this way and this is what you can expect. Grant, if their delusion helps me, if their blueprint, their map of the world helps me project into the future and make money, I become more powerful. Easy answer, no problem at all. Same with my doctor. They take a couple of symptoms. They say, it looks like you have this sort of disease. We'll have to wait on tests, but in the meantime, do this. If that makes me feel better immediately or in the next day or two or whatever else, great, I'm more powerful. If an educator comes to me and says, here is the on-ramp to get into the room that you want to be a master of, if I follow that on-ramp and now I'm able to talk to the people in that area of expertise, great, they've just helped me get more powerful. When it's one-on-one, appraising a delusion, knowing whether it's good or bad, is very easy. When it is in a group, it is much more nuanced, and this is where the education comes in. What makes a good delusion that doesn't empower you but inspires you? What made Martin Luther King, what made his delusion so sticky? What Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, Washington, any leader, any inspirational leader, what is it that makes their delusion great? The answer is pretty simple, but put it into a business context to really appreciate the gravity of this. A good delusion is the delusion that affords, that allows for other delusions to live within it. So if I'm a business owner and I'm trying to sell socks, not the sexiest product, but we'll use that for today, and I find someone who is really social, great, you can be the networker. I find someone who's introverted. Okay, are you interested in making or serving? Or where do you want to make, serve, sell? You'll find a spot there. You want to be the crafts person. You want to be whatever else. No problem at all. You want to be the high openness person. You get to be creative. Okay, you get to make up the designs. Get the high conscientious person who loves order and discipline and everything else. Great. You manage the bloody company because everyone needs that person as well. You get the community-orientated person. You're your social outreach for socks. Yes, if I'm really big, this could be it. That's what I mean. The delusion has to be big enough that their anticipation, their aspiration for the future, the thing that hasn't happened yet, that they want, that delusion fits within the good delusion. Now, we could argue that religion was an attempt to have a delusion big enough to afford all of the other delusions in a way that everything harmonizes, everything works together. Because the thing about, this is where delusions kind of come in handy, that framing, that word, is that my delusion can be smacked by reality and can bump up against other delusions. I wanted to be first place. I thought I was the winner. I thought I was the better person, and they have their delusion. Okay, in a company, you have, it's hey, within this framing, we are a sock company, and you were better. Sure, you were better at the community outreach, but the people you reached didn't buy any of our socks. You were in charge of networking, and the people that you outreach to, yeah, they bought loads of our socks. So it goes to this guy, and now it makes sense. And now the delusion has been kept. They still want to grow within the space, but it now makes sense to them, so they don't have that direct conflict. Now, we can understand religion as trying to get some superposition above all the other delusions to afford some sort of grounding that allows for all of the other aspirations, future-based behaviours, to live together, to harmonize. Now, the second important question that we have to ask here is what makes a bad delusion? So, one that doesn't have enough holding capacity to fit everyone. So it starts to overflow, and then you get someone who has a coup. They take half your company. They take your best talent, or they burn out and they're tired of it. They just want out, whatever it is. But they will cleave, is what your anthropologists call it. Basically, when a group gets too big, and then a subgroup comes in and forms its own identity and then separates out. So they use the term cleaving. Not that you need that. But, so 1, they don't have enough holding capacity. 2 is that there is a logical or moral leap that is too much. Now, if we're being honest, and if we've read the books, humans can be led to very destructive behaviors, very morally corrupt behaviors, very evil behaviors. And they don't just appear there, they step there one step at a time. It is a sad fact. It is the lesson of the previous century, the 20th century, is that is part of our nature. So, I just don't want to shy away from that. But even for the most corrupt person, if there is a logical or moral leap that is too much of a jump for them, either forward or backwards, they won't make the jump. It will just, or if they do, they will resent the fact that they did it. They will hate that fact, and that can build up and fester and everything else. So, 1, not enough holding capacity. 2, a moral or logical jump that is too big. 3 is a social jump that is too big. I might agree with 100% of what you're saying. I might have, like, morally and logically and all of the rest, 100% you are right, but I cannot agree with you because you are on the other team. You have a persona publicly that I just cannot touch. It is radioactive. Cannot do. Sorry, mate. No worries at all. I'm not trying to condone that there is a certain amount of cowardice behind that, but let's not pretend as if that isn't part of the social fabric that we're all in. And if you need an example of that, look at the American political system. Now, before we try to put this idea to use to make you more powerful by understanding this, I want to add one more thing. Decisions are made from an emotional space. There is research around this where if you cut out the emotional part of the brain, that the person is 100% logical, can tell you exactly why different restaurants are better or worse than other restaurants. But when you ask, what do you want? They cannot give an answer because we are emotionally driven. We urge, we want, we crave before we make the adjustment cognitively. We make sense of the world backwards. We are essentially on a boat and we're just looking at the riptide, just being like, we're looking at that pattern behind the boat, just being like, oh yeah, that's the story. The reason that's important to know is because we can get led further than we can logic. We can get caught up in stuff that we are not happy with. We can all make mistakes because emotionally we will be driven there through desire or through desperation or through fear or through love, whatever it is. That's really important to know, not just for yourself, but when you're confronting the other side, when you are meeting a human being face to face and you are not seeing eye to eye. It is good to know that it might not have been logic that got them there. It might have been emotionally led, and that's totally normal, that's totally human and totally understandable. It does not make them any more or less corrupt. It is the software we are all running. So with that, how do you have a good delusion knowing this whole thing? If you know the future hasn't happened yet, And it's actually a delusion. Like, why? How do you make that jump? Why am I even connected to it? It's a delusion. It's false. It's a fantasy. Fugazi, like, if you want a movie reference. But why am I connected to it? If I'm aiming really big, I want like social reform. I want like a new world. I have a dream that one day, to quote Martin Luther King, like, how can I even aspire that big? How do I dare have either the guts and the courage or the stupidity to actually believe in something that hasn't happened yet, and in all likelihood won't bloody happen, because the chances of getting there are slim. Like, so let's not like try to make the task of confronting the future, like, let's not make it a small thing. We are on about something serious here. Not to try and make this video itself any grand thing or anything like that, but just to say the item I'm trying to point towards, the struggle for all of humans to confront the future, and for that not to be fear-based, is a human struggle. As I said, religion it can be argued that religion is the delusion that tries its best to hold all delusions. It tries to be the best container for humanity to play out its individual delusions. So change the words there and it'll make total sense. Religion is the container that allows the individuals to aspire, play the game, play nicely with each other. So how can we do something elevated, something higher, something with like a higher purpose, and still stay flexible, not get caught up, not be Icarus and fly too close to the sun, not be arrogant, not be narcissistic, not be these grandiose sort of things, entitled. Like, try to avoid those titles, or at least acknowledge them, or whatever way you want to phrase it. I have got this from Tom Bulio. So this is impact theory. And it's the best kind of framing I've found around it. And that is that you have to sell to your team. You have to say, this is the future. This is the map. This is the delusion. This is the way we are going. And like, the future's going to be bright. Like, follow me. I got it. And fully invest in that side of yourself, your ability to sell the delusion, to say like, hey, the future will be a certain way. This is how I believe it. This is what I think it's going to be. The important part is what happens in private, or what happens when you're at the cusp of your intelligence. Instead of trying to like, no, I got it. Look at how big my company is. Obviously I'm right. Spoken from a guy that does not have a company. So take that for what it is. I'm for sure missing puzzle pieces. But that's the point. That's the point, is that is to then in private recognize that no matter what, it is a delusion. It is missing something. It was constructed by a human and is therefore not reality, and is therefore not 100% true, and is therefore missing a puzzle piece. So in private, or within the team, like within the core team or whatever else, the war room, the workshop, the like whatever else it is, that you at a truth level understand that no one knows, comes from a place of not knowing. The amateur mentality, the novice mentality, the learner, the eternal learner, to have that at the heart. And yes, go out into the world. This is the future. This is the way. This is as seen from the past, and as we can predict into the future, this is the way that it will go. Whatever your story is, whether it's new, whether it's old, traditional, or revolutionary, you will have a story, you will have a narrative. And that's the recent movie Dune was all about that. The second movie captures that. So, you are delusional. I am delusional. Nice to meet you. Good luck.